Welcome back to Casuals Corner, and today we're going to be breaking down the Derek Brunson Darren Till fight that we saw on Saturday. And lucky for most of you, if you don't stay up to ridiculous hours like you usually have to, it would have been on quite early as well, so there's no excuse to miss it. But if you did, Derek Brunson won via rear naked choke. Now, I don't want to have to be that guy, but I could see it playing out like this, and I even predicted beforehand. And I'm going to cue the prediction because it was so spot on that I want to play on this. If it wasn't as close, I wouldn't bother, but it was pretty close. So I'm going to play it. Right, let's get a Derek Brunson v Darren Till prediction under the belt then. So this is how I see this one playing out. First thing that I will say, I do think Derek Brunson's been drastically overlooked. Let's not forget, he's an all-time All-American. He has a lot of first-round TKOs. He's got a good left hand, and he's got very, very good dominant wrestling. And I think if he finds a path to victory in this fight, he's going to have to really play on his wrestling. He's going to have to stay heavy. He has nice trips up against the cage. He is a dominant wrestler, and he sinks his hooks in quickly. Can I see him grinding Darren Till down, beating him up on the floor, some nice ground and pound, seeing an opening and potentially sinking in a rear naked choke? I can see that. I can't see that. Obviously, on my picks and in my heart, I was going for Darren Till, but it wasn't to say that obviously he didn't have a fighting chance coming into the fight, because of course he did. And the tale before the two fault was really going to come down to, was the wrestler going to be able to implement his game, or is the striker going to be able to implement his game? Because realistically, we knew going into it, and they knew going into it, that their skill sets for each other were just of an elite level on different aspects of martial arts. So it was going to be who's going to be able to implement their game plan. We know that Darren Till has beautiful striking, he's excellent in Muay Thai and his respective discipline, and then we've got Derek Brunson, like I said beforehand, to not count out, All-American Derek Brunson. So a very dangerous individual, and it just seemed that Darren Till couldn't implement his game plan, and ultimately the path to victory for Derek Brunson was clear within that first round. He secured a nice takedown, and he had such top heavy pressure that even though we've seen Darren Till with a good takedown defense, and he said, if he does take me down, I'll scramble back to my feet, but as we sort of said in that pre-fight breakdown, that's all well and good to have that the first time and the second time, and yes, you may have good takedown defense, but when it goes to the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, when your energy is a little bit more zapped, and especially what happened in this fight is Darren Till was getting stung with some heavy ground and pound. I haven't seen anyone sort of dominate on the ground like that so convincingly against someone at a very high level for quite some time. I feel like it's been lacking in the UFC for a little bit. Maybe since Khabib's gone, we haven't seen it as much, but it was very, very impressive. Elbows were just stunning him, and he couldn't scramble to his feet. That was the problem. But it's all well and good sitting here and saying, he didn't get to his feet, I know that, but it was the ground and pound that I think just sort of stunned him, and it was just heavy pressure. Every time he moved, he had an elbow or he had some heavy punches that he didn't really have an answer for that. And then in between the rounds, that you could see that he was saying to his coaches, he was saying, I can't really get up. He also said that Derek Brunson was tired, but those wrestlers, man, they don't get tired. It's not within their dictionary. And there was a reason, I said going into this, there's a reason why Derek Brunson's takedown accuracy is around 33%, and there's a reason Darren Till's takedown defense is around 82%, because Darren Till has got good takedown defense, and he showed glimpses of that throughout it. Even though he did get dominated in the wrestling side, he still defended a few very, very good takedowns, which a lot of people would have been taken down by. So it goes to just speak to the level of what Derek Brunson's on. And Darren Till said coming into this that he's definitely his highest level of competitor in terms of wrestling. And you could see when he got in there, that was very, very apparent. And you could see that he's never faced someone with that particular pressure and that particular pedigree. Because like I was saying, going back to the statistics, he may have 33% takedown accuracy, but they're the scary ones. The people with the wrestlers with the low percents, they're the scary ones, because that just means, yeah, they're not 100%. They're not going to blast a double leg in the first round, not get it, and not bother again. They're going to do it over and over and over again. So yeah, you may be able to defend the first 4, the first 5, because even if you're in camp and you're drilling against a wrestler, you can't ingrain a lifetime of dedication to that particular art form like Derek Brunson has. And it works the same way with the striking. Derek Brunson was never going to be able to, even though he's been working with Henry Hoof in Sanford, which has obviously helped him, he was never going to be able to stand there and trade with him. So it worked both ways. And it went to show, and it was always going to be the question, is Till going to be able to keep defending it? And it turned out that even after the first one, that had a lot of pressure on him. And then you could see that even though we see Till with this very sort of light stance where he blitzes in and out, you could tell that in that second round he was then second guessing whether to blitz or not, or whether to go in and close the distance, because every tiny overextension, Derek Brunson was on him like that. Every time that distance was closed, he just grappled him, and he got him down a good few times. I can't remember the amount of takedowns, but he was just having such good success with it and doing so much damage on the floor that it just made complete sense. And that's what I was really impressed with Derek Brunson. We obviously know his level, we know his pedigree, but I was impressed of how he capitalised on the mistakes of Till, who is a very calculated striker and a very calculated fighter. I was impressed how he pounced on those overextensions and then used that for his takedowns, because it was a much more efficient way to use his energy as well. And I really don't think he was tired. So it was sort of tail of the tape, really. Till had his moments in that third. Literally his brightest glimpse within that fight was just before he got stopped. And again, coming into it, we said, like, we knew he had such good offensive grappling against the cage. He's got such good trips, he's heavy, he's got such long arms, he can lock his hands. He's just very dominant in that position. So even though Darren Till had a little flurry, he managed to, he got a little bit stumbled, I think. He said he wasn't in the presser, but I think he was. And he managed to regain a bit of composure. I think he shot a double, got him up against the fence, and then that was the beginning of the end. And then once he took full mount, which was impressive enough, he got him on his back, flattened him out, and sunk in that rear naked. And I could genuinely see that happening, like I said before, because he has got vicious ground and pound. So I think it was a really, really impressive performance from Brunson. And even though a lot of people will probably say they don't want to see that Adesanya fight, I think Rob is the next fight to make for Adesanya. But after that, if Brunson gets another win, or if that happens quite quickly, then Brunson's got to be in that picture, because it was a very, very impressive performance. As for Till, I don't think this is anything drastic. He's still 28 years of age. I mean, you look at the champion, he's still a few years off of him just in age. So I have no doubt that he'll probably follow a similar path to Bisping. Maybe not even take as many goes, but he's not a million miles away. Till, I think people are really getting a little bit confused what happened. I just think Derek Brunson was very good. He's on an absolute tear. He's coming into the peak of his career, at the end of his career, and he's having one last title shot. He's changed to Sanford MMA. He's rolling every day with the likes of Gilbert Burns. And saying that, he actually was injured. This is what makes it even more impressive. He had a rib injury, so he didn't train for I don't think he trained pretty much at all in the 3 weeks before the fight, which makes this even more impressive. But going back to my point, even though he's rolling with the likes of Gilbert Burns and he's striking with Henry Hoof now, and he's really fine-tuning his game, and he's cutting the fat away, and I don't think he's as reckless now. I think he's calculated. Every time he sort of threw that left hand, I'm not even sure he was sort of throwing it to land. He was just sort of using it as a rangefinder just to secure that takedown, and he'd done it a number of times, and he even used the uppercut to do the same thing as well. So it was a very impressive performance from Derek Brunson. So I'm intrigued to see what we see next from Till. I saw a lot about changing camps and things like that. I don't really agree with that after just one loss, but it is to say that he's never fought someone of the pedigree of Brunson. He knew that coming in. We don't necessarily have that backbone of wrestling culture in the UK. Not to say he's not going to be training with good people. Obviously he trains with Aspinall and people like that, but he's not going to have the depth in terms of looks, especially for someone like Brunson, that you're going to get over in the UK. So it's not to say I'll drop all his coaches that he's worked with his whole life, but it is to say that is a point to consider, and I think he probably will going forward. But it'll be interesting to see what will happen. And as always, you know the drill. If you enjoyed the content, please drop a like and a subscribe. It helps us grow the channel, and it's always very much appreciated. Drop us a follow on TikTok and Instagram as well, because we've got big things happening. I'm not going to sort of spoil the party too much of what they are, but there's big things on the way, and I'm looking forward to see if we can get on the journey at the start of it, because it's always interesting to be at the start of a journey with a content page and see when they're in the headlines for multiple good things. So I'm looking forward to that, and as always, peace.